Hello, my dear cats. How are you?
Hello, Cara. I'm brilliant. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm so glad.
And for those listening, we've just dived very deep into the nature of human existence. And now we're hoping that something might come to us that we can share with you about that. And I'm so grateful, Cara, that you look so much lighter now than half an hour ago.
Yes, we started this chat and I was feeling very surrounded by clouds or something heavy. There was a heaviness to my day, and I'm always so grateful for our chats because they instantly lighten me, and I love the process of our discussions. And I'm very excited to see where today's goes because although we've had a chat, we haven't chatted about what we're going to do or what we're going to talk about. So let us uncrack the episode and see
Oh,
where we
let,
head.
let's let's crack it open, shall we? Ooh, that's actually a spoiler alert. But anyway, something that's been, I think I can speak for the both of us, that's been on our minds and hearts, is sort of the, well, you can call it many things, the fickleness of life, or the surprising qualities of life. The, oh, is this a good thing? Or is this a bad thing? Or is it maybe both? Or who gets to decide what is a lucky experience or what is a unlucky experience? And I had the pleasure of mm, encountering, I would say, the goddess Tyche last month, because in my goddess project, as it is drawing to the close of the first round, the second to last goddess was Tyche. And I had no idea about her. It was always, it used to be Madame Fortune, the Roman goddess of luck, that I dealt with. And then I found, oh, hang on a second. As in so many cases, there is an older deity who was worshipped in ancient Greece, and her name is Tyche. And I went quite deep into my research again, and it was so wonderful to encounter her, to hear about her, and to find that in the beginning she was the goddess of good fate. And then as things in Greece turned towards upheaval and unrest, and citizens were more uncertain of what was happening politically and with how do you say that in English? Nature occurrences such as earthquakes and things. They then needed somebody to blame. And then Tyche became, the fickle one. Oh, she hands out bad luck just for the fun of it, that kind of thing. And it was interesting to match the storytelling magic with historical, well, facts, or at least what we kind of know about this deity.
I think it's interesting that she was the goddess of good fortune until people were experiencing bad fortune or uncertainty. And it's not even the bad fortune, it's the uncertainty that I think is a really difficult place for people to sit. If we know something terrible is going to happen, then we can deal with it. We can get our heads around it. We can work out our support systems and so on. It's that fickleness. We don't know what's going to happen next, and we don't always know what the right decision's going to be. And I think that's a big thing. Just at the introduction there, when you were talking, I was again thinking of this idea of choices and the fact that if you make one choice, you go down one path. If you make another choice, you go down another path. And it's that way that we branch off. And we can't take all the branches because there are too many. We cannot make all the choices. And that is something I really struggle with. I've always had difficulty in making choices because I need to know it's the right choice before I make that decision, which is an impossible thing to do because you cannot make all the choices and you cannot know all the information and you don't have the ability to look at all the different permutations. And yet, it's something that I am very conscious that I get stuck in, that I am so tied up in, but what if this or what if that? And then I don't make the decision. And once I do, things are much better. It's like it's all sitting on a knife edge, but once you make that choice, one way or the other, then the path progresses and it's all fine. And both choices, no matter what they are, have equal merit in one way or another. Yes, they have different consequences, but they always have different merits, or they always have merit in themselves. And that's one thing that I know that I need to learn to accept and feel into much more about making decisions and realizing that sometimes making the decision is the best thing you can do, and putting it off doesn't always help.
I'll be cheeky and say, "Does it ever?" But that's a whole different discussion.
Well,
Um,
yes, that's fair.
yes, thank you for that. Yeah, so true. And I mean, so many storytellers from all over the world tell the story of good luck, bad luck, right? The farmer or like man or woman farmer who just has exercises their freedom of interpreting
Mm,
a
yes.
situation differently and in the first place neutrally than their neighbors or other people viewing the situation. And that is so interesting to me. And when you were speaking, I was reminded of Viktor Frankl, the psychologist who was a prisoner in Auschwitz, and who, first of all, while he was in the concentration camp, used his imagination to picture himself outside of the camp after everything was over, teaching people psychology. And that image was so strong that it helped him to reinterpret things, terrible things. I mean, things that none of us can actually really truly comprehend. And secondly, and to me more importantly, he discovered the freedom in the pause. Like there's this concept that he came up with is when I'm in the dirt and somebody is mistreating me, hitting me or whatever, I do not have a choice whether they hit me, but I do get to decide how I feel about it or how I interpret it or how
Mm,
I
yeah.
react to it. But in order to make that choice, I need to pause. My power is in the pause. And so even that moment you've been describing, the oh, I don't know what to do. If we reframe that, if we go, oh, thank you, life, I now get to set my intention anew, then there's freedom in that pause. And then, as you say, both paths are perfect because every step of the way, I get to interpret the situation. And if I choose to say this is the best thing that could have happened because this is what happened, then that's my reality. And that's what I found with Tyche, or as a Greek friend of mine, she helped me pronounce the name. I do hope I get it close to correct. Tyche, the goddess. She's there's so many anecdotes about her that have her address the issue. Like for example, there's a farmer that finds a pot of gold in their field, and then immediately he builds a shrine to Gaia, thanking her for the riches and the abundance. And Tyche shows up going, hang on a minute. why would you attribute this to Gaia when it is me who gave you this? But when you have a misfortune, you're so quick to blame me. That's when you sort of address me with your anger and your blame and shame. But why don't you ever thank me when I bless you, when I openly gift you with amazingness? So yeah, I thought that was quite a humorous, or sort of like there's a humorous side to her that I quite liked.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting perspective on it. We don't always acknowledge our good luck or the things that are going right in our lives. When we look at, I mean, human psyche, we're terrible at comparing ourselves to other people or wishing things were different. Sometimes we just need to pause and take a moment and appreciate what we have, because our lives at the moment are actually full of joy, full of things that bring us contentment, happiness, and all the rest of it. And that's even if you are in terrible circumstances, even if you are facing illness, looking at mortality, misfortune, poverty, whatever, there are still moments of joy in that. And a lot of the people who actually are closer to that joy are the ones that precisely have those difficulties in life, because you are upfront and close and personal, and you can see the differences. You can see each path, I guess. You can see the good and the bad, and sometimes that helps us to focus on the small joys in life, because things can bring us so much joy even in the most dire circumstances.
So they can. Mm. And I would love to invite us all, and please, dear listeners, feel invited to just close your eyes if it is safe to do so. Close your eyes for a moment and just drop into your breathing. And let everything sink. Let the stress and the tension go. Release it with your breath. And that is the first thing that you can always, always be grateful for. If you find nothing else, turn to your breath and start with that. Countless times per day, you are breathed without having to do anything consciously. Take a moment and enjoy that feeling. There's a feeling of abundance in that.
Mm.
And feel your heart countless times per day and through the night. This beautiful entity, this organ, this amazing, I don't even want to call it a thing. It's a miracle. And it's beating for you without you ever having to do anything about it. You do, however, get the choice to cherish it and to be grateful for it. And as we move on, I also would love to challenge you, coming out of this short meditation. Find things throughout your day. Set yourself a challenge. Brendan Burchard says that gratitude practice is the grandfather of all positive psychology techniques. And it's true. The more I do it, the more I integrate into my life, I'm finding it's becoming more beautiful by the day. Allow yourself to stop throughout the day and just collect those beads, collect those gems, those glitters. I loved that. I saw on Instagram a post by a woman who said, oh, we all talk about the triggers, those things that sort of act like hiccups in our routine, and they hurt and la la la, but let's talk about the glitters. What are the glittering, beautiful, shiny moments throughout your day?
Yes, and I think that's the thing. It is so easy sometimes to pick up on the negative things, because they're there in our face and they're causing us frustrations and whatever. And yeah, actually stopping and appreciating that we can boil the kettle or look at the sunrise or notice a bird singing on a branch or be held in a favorite chair just for a moment. All these beautiful things. And you're right. The more we notice these things, the more a practice it becomes. Allowing ourselves the time and opportunity to really just be. I mean, this is one thing that I think we need to keep coming back to, is the fact that we are here to be. We are human beings, not human doings. And we are here to be, not to do anything. And that is enough. And whenever we're having a bad time, then just allowing ourselves to just be and be held by the world is enough.
As we will explore in depth on October 17th. And anyone listening in the year 2023, please do come along for our online event within the frame of the beautiful Scottish International Storytelling Festival, the Global Lab, where we will hold space for you, tell stories, and explore the breath and all kinds of helpers that can connect us with the fact that we are already enough. Please do come along. We're both, I think, really looking forward to it because we'll have so much fun. Yes.
Just add, if you're wanting to get tickets, then have a look on the Scottish International Storytelling Festival website. So many wonderful things. We are on Tuesday, the 17th of October, but there are so many other wonderful, wonderful events going on as part of that, many of them online or local throughout Scotland as well. So do have a look.
That's where it all started for me anyway. Yes, and just to get back, Cara, to what you were saying before about noticing that the negative things or the positive, depending on our choice. That for me is a serious case of story medicine because medicine can be toxic or actually beneficial to your health. And let us really become a lot more aware of the overall stories that are being told to us through large, huge industries. Let us become conscious of what we consume. And let us choose the positive stories because they are out there, but they tend to be more on the quiet side. You have to go looking for them. And it can sometimes be harder than just switching on Netflix and disappearing into the zone for 3 hours, into something that is telling you a story of lack, of terror, of negative whatever. And you're free in that choice. And maybe you want to, just as an experiment, have a look at what it is that you are taking into your subconscious, which is then going to contribute to the choices you make in everyday life. And maybe you'll find, as I did, that through increasing your practices such as gratitude, such as disengaging from negative stories, you'll be needing them less and less. Because there's beauty everywhere out there waiting to tell you its story. Gaia is telling you a lovely, wonderful, amazing story every day. And yes, there is also pain and there's serious issues that we need to address. Nobody is disputing that. And still, if you are charged with love and with abundance and with humor, you're so much better equipped, or so I believe, to actually address these issues. And that's why I'm so passionate about storytelling, about and becoming more picky by the day about my words, about the stories that I do tell, about the contexts I engage in, because I'm becoming more and more aware that we are magicians. We are magicians through our words.
We are indeed. And stories definitely bring magic, and the resonance of stories helps to illuminate the path that we would like to be on. And given that, Kat, do you have a story to share with us this time?
Yes, a teeny tiny one. And it is an anecdote by Aesop about the lovely Lady Tyche. So sit back and relax and picture Zeus on his throne. And he's looking down on the world of humans, and he sees them crawling about like ants with, no clear purpose, and topsy-turvy all over the place, and he realizes that something is missing. Zeus, the almighty god father, called to his side the lady Tyche, goddess of fortune. Tyche, he said, I need you to do something for me. Go down to the human world and show them two paths. Show them the path to freedom, and also point out the path towards slavery. How you do that, I cannot, but do it. The lady Tyche went down to earth, and she sat for a long time, feeling, pondering, connecting, conjuring, and then she created two paths. The path to freedom she created thus. It was a tall mountain, its top all shrouded in mist. And there was a path that was covered in brambles. And there were rocks and boulders and deep abysses, and there was no water for the thirsty traveler to be had. But after a while, the path started clearing, the brambles dying away, a beautiful meadow appearing with the most gorgeous flowers on it. And the path wound up and up and up towards the top of the mountain. And the traveler, having come thus far, would stand on the very top of the world, breathing in the freshest, cleanest air, feeling alive and feeling very, very close to Tyche herself. The path to slavery, however, she created thus. It started off as the most beautiful, lush, green meadow, fragrant flowers everywhere, bird song filling the air. It was very nice and flat, and a person wandering there could have a drink at a cool stream, and they would keep on going, and all the while they could see the top of the mountain, see that amazing peak in the distance, and all the while they didn't realize that the path was actually only level with the foot of the mountain, and that they were going in circles. And then after a while, this beautiful path would turn into a bramble thicket. There would be boulders and rocks and deep abysses, until finally the wandering soul would stand in front of a wall. Thus, the Lady Tyche created the two paths, and when it was done, she planted them inside the human heart.
What a wonderful, wonderful story. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. And that's the thing, quite often the choice that looks like the easy choice is the one that doesn't lead us on the path that perhaps we wanted to go on. I think I've mentioned this before to you, certainly. But one of my favorite lines in a song, well, my favorite song that I'm going to have played at my funeral is Green Day's Good Riddance. Um, Time of Your Life is its subtitle, and I just love it for so many reasons. But my favorite line in the whole song is another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. And it's all about these choices. We have this fork, this choice all the time. And we can choose which path we want to be on. And taking the easy path does usually end in more hard work or being trapped in a loop, going round and round that base of the mountain, unable to get out. Um, it's also reminded me of the poem by Robert Frost, which I am going to look up to share.
That's so wonderful because to anybody listening, if you're capable of speaking German, you'll find the Tyche story and a lot of research in the foreword as an audio in my shop. And I started off that story with my translation of that Robert Frost poem. So, yes, please, let's have it. If you can find it, please do share. It's
Amazing.
so gorgeous.
It is indeed the road not taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then the other, that's just as fair, and perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for the passing there, had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. That fork in the road comes up for me again and again because it comes back to what I said before about choices. And we have the choice to decide our own path, which way we're going to go. And with experience comes that idea that sometimes the harder path to begin with becomes the one that brings us the most joy. And going back to what we were discussing before we started recording this episode, it is the thing that brings us joy, that brings us the energy, that makes us feel full of light, even if all the voices around us are giving their bad advice and saying, no, you should be doing X, Y, Z, falling into the routine of life, the way that society has prescribed it. If it doesn't bring you joy, if it doesn't elevate you, if it doesn't feel like freedom, then is it really what you're destined to be doing?
And to me, that it's so funny that this fork in the road is becoming more and more somehow kind of tiny because it's hidden in the moment. And that's so funny to me. Like it used to be this image of, oh, if I make the wrong decision here, I will regret it. La, la, la. But it's becoming more and more about how present can I be? Because it seems like then there's like in the concept of theory U leading from the future, like you're being pulled by the future rather than creating it. But to allow that, I need to be present. I have to be here and not in the past or in some imagined future. And that to me is such an interesting process that I'm also finding I bring more and more into my storytelling it seems to me like I'm becoming more present, more able to listen to the words before they leave my mouth, more able to actually, yeah, allow them to tell the story rather than, okay, I have to tell the story.
I think there's something there about the future is out there. You will get there eventually. It is just how much you resist it in the meantime.
Hmm.
Maybe not that.
Let's agree to disagree. I believe the future is. Do you know the German book Momo by Michael Ende? I think we've talked about. No, some of you listeners might know it. An amazing book, and it's about time and a little girl saving the world from being robbed of all time. And I don't want to spoil the book, but there's something about that you carry your own time in your heart, and there is no future. It just doesn't exist. And anyone real the real cracks who know what manifestation is and who use it and use it well, they know this. They get into the feeling of the so-called future they want to create before it's here. And that's such an amazing thing that, of course, we're not being taught or told, because that would make half of the market, superfluous. Did I say it correctly this time?
Yes,
Superfluous. Yes.
superfluous.
um yes, and so like you can be in that vibe now, whatever it is, but you have to take the time. Like, you have to be here now. Because if you don't, you'll be running after that future because it's out there forever. So that's just two different perceptions side by side. So, and yeah, just choose whichever is yours. Yeah. So fun. We set out going, oh, let's do a shorter episode this time for, people who want shorter episodes, but we just never seem to manage to do that.
Well, it was partly because yeah, full disclosure, my energy levels are quite low at the moment. So, from that point of view, I was feeling the need for a shorter episode as well, because taking time for your energy is really important, and acknowledging what is coming up in your life and in your body and being aware of these things for me has always been a challenge. And it is one thing that I am practicing more at the moment, is going, okay, what is it that's coming up for me? And every time we have a discussion, every time we record a podcast, it always raises my energy levels, and I always feel much more connected to you, to the listeners, to the world around me, to my own heart and what it is that I want to achieve in the world. And I am conscious that today is a day that my energy is low, and it has been brought up by this conversation, and I don't want to push it too far. So I am going to request that we stop this episode fairly soon and allow the listeners to also take a moment to think, where are they? What are the choices that they feel are in front of them? Where are the paths that could lead them one way or the other? What is it that they need to do in their lives? And can they just stop and be present without having to feel pressure to make those choices right now?
Ah, I celebrate you for what you just said. And yes, let's stop. Last thing though is, if you want to hear from us, if you want to follow along our journey, please make sure to subscribe either on YouTube or on your podcast app or platform. You can find both of us on Instagram. And please do keep an eye out, because we have something in store for you starting in the beginning of November, and it will be amazing. but we'll share details in the soonish in the
Next
next few
podcast.
days. Next
Yeah.
podcast, we'll have it all for you, the facts and figures and whatever. But yes, we're both, I think, really excited because it's been half a year in the making,
It
and
has, yes.
can't wait to get started and raise our energy levels and at the same time honor our needs. So thank you, Cara, for this beautiful conversation, yet another one. And thank you, everyone listening, for joining us. It means so much to us that you're part of this journey, and we'll speak to you soon.